Hello. How is everybody tonight? Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody survived Halloween. It looks like most of you did, which is good. Let me see. Am I coming through loud and clear here? Loud and clear. I sure am. All righty. How's everybody doing tonight? First off, how was everybody's Halloween? Did everybody have a good Halloween? Let's see. There's Jordan. There's Movie Fan. There's Sean Sr. Captain Halloween. How you doing, sir? Rick Hunter. Hello. Bog Zombie. Stayed home watching horror. Passed out some candy and drank a homemade candy corn vodka with beers. Man, that sounds good. Nick Marshall. Wife took the kids out trick-or-treating on Town Square for Scare on the Square. That's cool. Dave, you caught the flu? Ugh, that sucks, man. Hope you get to feeling better soon. Only got 3 trick-or-treaters up there, huh, Jill? That was 3 more than I got. Let's see, we got Dylan with us tonight. We got Jordan Lee. We got Festy. We got Foz Rotten. What's going on, Foz? Dude, you were sick on Halloween too? Watched the original Halloween on TV. Watched some good horror podcasts. That's cool. Passed out candy to all the ghouls. Nice. Had a life-size Michael Myers with a knife on my back deck. My Halloween was pretty good. It was kind of a quiet Halloween, but it was a fun one. Just after Jeremy and I did our stream, just hung out and ate some candy, watched Urban Legend. And that was pretty much it. Was in bed by midnight. So. Wow, Dan, you had 300 trick-or-treaters. Holy, over 300. Damn. That's a lot of trick-or-treaters. Kevin Ellis, what's up? There's Dr. CZ Death. Chris, how you doing? You had 90. That's still pretty good. Ben Grimm is chocolate wasted. There's my buddy Mike, the real Fifth Beatle. Just gotta say hi, Piz, but it's bedtime for me. Have a good one, man. Take care. Spent my Halloween watching Rocky 4, Rocky 5, and Halloween 78. Not bad. Nope, Jeremy didn't stay up late. I thought I might have talked him into staying up at least an extra hour or two, but Nope, that wasn't going to happen. So, we ate pizza. He watched his shows. And is off to bed. So, Harley had 1 trick-or-treater. But that was the most he's had in 10 years. Wow. Hey, what's up, Justin Moreno? How you doing? The candy bill for 300 trick-or-treaters must be insane unless you hand out single M&Ms. Yeah, candy was not cheap this year, Dan. So, I mean, especially if you got the good stuff. If you got the good candy, that was quite an investment. So we got some big news yesterday. Big Friday the 13th related news yesterday. I'm sure everybody here heard about it. I did a video talking about it. A Friday the 13th prequel series is coming on Peacock. Going to be produced by Brian Fuller, who created and was the showrunner of Hannibal, which I've heard nothing but good things about the Hannibal television series. So that's given a lot of people some hope, I think. However, there has been some confusion about what the series can include as far as characters and whatnot. So let me open up my window capture here, and let's take a look at something. So this is the article. Here we go. So this is the article that I quoted from in my video yesterday. Now, the article had an amendment added to it. The article originally stated that they could only use characters, setting, etc., that was in the original screenplay. What Victor Miller won in the court case. The setting of Crystal Lake, the characters from the first film, Mrs. Voorhees, and young Jason. That was apparently not true. So there's an amendment down here at the bottom of this article. It says, note, an earlier version of this story stated that Crystal Lake would not be able to use elements from any film, from any Friday the 13th films, except for the first film. The story has been amended to reflect that it can, in fact. So, they can use. Essentially what they're saying here is that adult Jason is not off the table. But they're still calling it a prequel series. So what is it a prequel to, though? Is it a prequel to the first film? And if it's a prequel to the first film, then Jason's a kid, right? Or is it a prequel to which entry in the series? I don't know. It's still kind of confusing. So let's have a look at this. Larry Zerner broke it down on Twitter yesterday. The Rob gentleman, Rob Barsamian, who is Horror Inc., as Larry Zerner states there in his tweet, is also producing this series with Victor Miller and his attorney, Mark Toberoff. And Mark Toberoff is a really interesting character in this whole ordeal. So Larry clears things up here, saying that, yes, that's true. They can use adult Jason if they want to. Adult Jason, the hockey mask, all that jazz is not off limits. Horror Inc. is Rob Barsamian. So what it sounds like to me is Victor Miller's attorney and the producers of the show have come up with a way to include adult Jason without needing Sean Cunningham's involvement. They've got Horror Inc.'s involvement, Rob Barsamian. So there's that. Now, when I first read this article, and I was thinking about, what could this series be? What could it do? What could come from it? My thought was, this has to be a limited series, right? They can't be thinking about this is going to be 3, 4, 5 seasons, 30, 40, 50 episodes. How can you get that many episodes out of Pamela and young Jason without expanding it into the Crazy Ralph story or, the Steve Christie story or the lady that worked at the diner story? How can you keep this up for literally more than 10 episodes? Even at 10 episodes, that seems like a stretch for a Pamela young Jason story. Now, I know that they're going to Bates Motel it in some way. That was my thought too. And Bates Motel, a lot of people loved Bates Motel. Bates Motel got, I don't know how many seasons. I know it was more than a couple of seasons out of that. Is it still on, as a matter of fact? Is Bates Motel still going? Anyway, they got a few seasons out of young Norman and, his mother demise. So, maybe they could do the same thing with Jason and Pamela. I don't know. My thought was, this has to be a limited thing. We'll meet Pamela pre Jason's death, and we'll meet young Jason pre his death. And we'll see what was Pamela like before all this happened. We'll see what was Jason like before he died. We'll see, Pamela was a loving and protective and supportive mother. Jason was picked on and ostracized by the other kids in the camp. We'll meet some of the counselors, blah, blah, blah. Then Jason will die. We'll see Jason die. We'll see Pamela's reaction to them pulling Jason's body out of the lake. We'll see Pamela completely break down. We'll see, her poisoning the water. We'll see her, doing the things that led up to the 1980 film. We'll see the 1980 film redone. And from Pamela will die. That will springboard into an adult Jason Peacock movie or theatrical movie. That was how I saw it all when I read this article. I was like, that's how it's got to be. Sean Cunningham is waiting in the wings with his adult hockey mask Jason. Let all this prequel stuff get out of the way. That way Victor Miller gets paid. Then we dive into adult Jason with the hockey mask. That way Sean Cunningham gets paid. If you want adult hockey mask Jason, you've got to have the prequel for that to happen. That way both sides get paid. And so of course the original Friday the 13th was a murder mystery, right? The mystery's gone now. We know it's Mrs. Voorhees. I saw somebody mention Elias in the chat, Jason Lima. I mean, that's something they could explore. I don't think it's needed, honestly. I mean, that's something they could explore, especially if they're going to stretch this thing out and into more than, a handful of episodes, or if they think they're going to make multiple seasons. Eventually they're going to have to, the dad angle's going to have to be brought into it at some point. But what I was thinking for Pamela after Jason dies, you remember in the movie, Pamela would kind of, she'd contort her face and she'd talk to herself as Jason. Well, after Jason dies, after she's completely lost it, she begins talking to herself as young Jason. And it's young Jason who is encouraging her to get revenge. She doesn't want to get revenge, but it's young Jason encouraging her. So there's that conflict there of, you know, she's crazy. We know that. And that could kind of make her a little sympathetic too. Like after the first killings of the two counselors up in that upstairs area that we see at the beginning of the original Friday the 13th, like there could be a scene where Pamela in a bathroom, Pamela stands in front of a mirror and she's got blood all over and she throws the bloody knife into the sink and she's staring at herself with all this blood on her. And she's just like, you know, like, what have I done? And then, like, you know, her face contorts and she's like, yeah, thank you, mommy. You did it. It's all for us, mommy. And like, maybe she even can see like young Jason standing there, like dripping water, you know, like he's urging her to commit these murders, even though she doesn't really want to. I thought that could be like that could add something to it. You know, make it psychological, make her a little more sympathetic, and then add to it, like, you know, I don't know. It could make it could make it a little interesting, I think. Anywho, then of course we got this from Larry Zerner. Then Brian Fuller did an interview with Fangoria, and he pretty much, let me just read from this. All right. So we've got Brian Fuller here. The interviewer says, so for starters, what characters and locations and what not are you allowed to use for the Friday the 13th franchise? And Mr. Fuller responds, everything. We can use everything. We can go to hell. We can go to space. That's not to say that we will do those things. Although if we go 10 seasons, I will be lobbying hard to go to space. He also says down here, the interviewer asks, this has been pitched as a prequel series. So how far back in the timeline will we be when Crystal Lake begins? And Mr. Fuller responds, I don't think I'm allowed to say just yet, but I would say it's less a prequel series than a pre-remakeable series. So everything pre-remake is on the table. So we can explore. So everything is on the table, apparently. But still, I mean, why are they calling it a prequel? Why are they still calling it a prequel series if you've got all this? You've got 8 movies to plunder. You've got 8 movies worth of characters. You've got 8 movies worth of Jasons. You know, and the fact of the matter is this. They're probably in the very early stages of development with all of this. They probably have no idea, to be honest. They probably have just a vague idea of what they want to do here. If you remember, several years ago, there was going to be a Friday the 13th television series on the CW that Sean Cunningham had taken to the CW, and they had bought it, and it just never happened because they couldn't come up with anything. They couldn't come up with, how do we make this into a series? And at that time they had everything to work with. They had Sean Cunningham. They had adult Jason. They had Camp Crystal Lake. They had Pamela. They had everything, and they couldn't come up with anything. They had everything, but they couldn't come up with anything. What it sounds like to me from all this is not just that Brian Fuller is being vague, it's because they're very early in development. And they kind of don't know. They know what they've got, but they don't know what they're going to do with it. And honestly, I don't know. And even, I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to go down the road of there being more legality over this series. But I mean, that is a possibility too, I would think. Mr. Fuller talks about the movie rights here. So up here, he mentions, he says, A24 and Mark Toberoff, who is Victor Miller's lawyer, he's also the producer on this thing, have beautifully and excruciatingly assembled the Friday the 13th rights. But they've only got the rights to do this series. They don't have movie rights. The movie rights are a completely different thing. They are tied up at New Line and are super, super messy and probably won't be untangled anytime soon. But as far as us chickens in the television industry roost, we have access to anything and everything that Friday the 13th has done up until this point. So the movie rights are tied up. It's a messy thing. It's messy with the movie rights, but they've got the rights to a series. So the limited series thing that's going to springboard into a movie, maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe they are thinking that they can stretch this thing out into 4, 5, 6 seasons. I don't know. And that's, I mean, and keep in mind too, this could all just be bullcrap. Maybe they do have movie rights. Maybe they are thinking about the series springboarding into a movie. They just don't want to tip their hand to that yet. Cause again, they're in the early stages of developing this thing, I'm sure. So I don't know. And then the rest of this here is just him kind of say, well, here he does say, I wouldn't count Jason out. This series, as a prequel would tend to indicate, this series will revolve more around Pamela Voorhees than Jason. Will Jason be in it? He says, I wouldn't count Jason out. So, yeah. And there's a lot more going on here in this interview, but I think I pretty much covered the major points, which are they have the rights for they have everything on the table. Adult Jason, hockey mask Jason, they have access to it all. But according to Fuller, they do not have any kind of movie rights. So, there you go.
Come on, Roy. Get your hands dirty.
Thank you, JHPLLC, for the $1.99 super chats. And Amityville Anaconda coming soon. Can't wait for that one. Or maybe we will never hear about this again. That's, Alan, you're not the first person who's mentioned that. We may never, the thing may never get out of development. So I don't know. If Brian Fuller is involved, clearly that means they're taking it seriously. So, I mean, let's say they do move ahead here and it's going to be a series and they're thinking 3 seasons, right? The key elements here are going to be, who do they cast as Mrs. Voorhees, right? You've got to have a great actress to play Mrs. Voorhees. And I think you've got to have some really talented writers working on this thing. I'm excited that we're getting some Friday the 13th, some new Friday the 13th stuff, or at least new Friday the 13th stuff is in the works. A long running series definitely was not what I was expecting, but that kind of sounds like what is on the table. I don't know. Oh goodness. So what are y'all thinking? Who would be a good Mrs. Voorhees? There was an actress I was thinking of. She was in the American Horror Story season. She played a nun who was like possessed. I forget her name, but I thought she would be a good Pamela. Mia Goth, the final girl. She's become horror royalty, you know. Hey, there's the Daily Ghost. What's up? I'm curious the sudden lack of faith in A24. Yeah, I mean, A24 is involved too. I mean, clearly, if A24 and Brian Fuller are involved, they're taking it seriously. I think we just need to see like who's going to be writing the thing, who's going to be in the writing room for these episodes, you know what I mean? And who's going to be Mrs. Voorhees? Lily Rabe, is that her name? Let me look her up here. Yeah, that's her. Lily Rabe. Yeah. I think she would be a good Mrs. Voorhees. She's a little, well, I mean, it's a prequel. She's young, but she's definitely she's a good actress. She can do creepy well, that's for sure. So there's Miss Rabe. She does creepy well, that's for sure. Like, look at her eyes there. Like, she's almost making the face. Kill her, mommy. Kill her, mommy. But Jason, I can't do it. I can't do it. But you have to avenge us, mommy. You have to avenge me. Don't you love me, mommy? I was crying out for you and I drowned. It was their fault. There you go. I don't want to do it, Jason. Oh, get this. Here's the first time we see Jason in the series. Okay? All the kids are outside the camp playing softball or wiffle ball or something. We go into the like the rec room where something's moving around back there. We go into the rec room where they keep all the equipment, the sporting equipment. And we see this little boy. He's in the box looking at stuff. We only see the back of him because he's inside the box rooting through stuff. And in the distance we hear, Jason! He rises up out of the box and looks at the camera, and he's wearing a freaking hockey mask. Young Jason. That's the first image of young Jason in the series. He's wearing a hockey mask. He peels the hockey mask off, he throws it back in the box, and he runs to his mother. What do you think about that? Ty West could direct a couple of episodes. Yes, Ty West could direct a couple of episodes. Mike Flanagan direct a couple of episodes. Jamie Blanks direct a couple of episodes. You know? Samantha Morton would be excellent. Yeah, let me look up Samantha Morton here. The name sounds familiar. Oh, yes. Yeah, she was the bald villain on yeah, there she is. There she is as the bald. Well, I forget what she was the villain on The Walking Dead for a couple of seasons. So yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis for Pamela Voorhees. I don't think, well, they offer her enough money. Charlize Theron. I thought of Charlize Theron too. Because, I mean, if Charlize Theron can pull off Eileen Wuornos, she can pull off anything. She may be outside of their price range, but well, I don't know. It's Brian Fuller. It's Peacock. They've probably got deep pockets. Fairuza Balk can play post-mortem Mrs. Voorhees. Okay, that's just mean. That's just mean. She was Alpha. She was Alpha, I do believe. Yeah, she was Alpha. David Dakota direct a couple of episodes. Yeah, Jim Wynorski can direct a couple of episodes. Those would be the episodes I would mark on the calendar, the Jim Wynorski directed episodes. So, Jodie Foster, she'd be good. I don't know if she'd be interested in that, but she'd be good. She'd be good. So, I mean, there's some ideas for Mrs. Voorhees. Lily Rabe, Samantha Morton, Charlize Theron, you know? Toni Collette would be good. I don't think Toni Collette would go near it, though. So, Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace, I think, would be good. Yeah. Dee Wallace would be good. Jennifer Tilly. I don't know about Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly is she's too Chucky. Everybody would, taking her out of Chucky would be difficult. Vera Farmiga, yeah, she would be good. Well, I don't know. She was already Mrs. Bates. So Megan Fox, yes, Megan Fox would be, yeah, and Machine Gun Kelly could be Elias Voorhees. That'd be awesome. Melissa McCarthy as Pam. Oh, Jesus, God. Come on. Rebecca De Mornay. Tilda Swinton. My vote is for Sherry Moon Zombie, personally. Rob Zombie could direct several of the episodes. So, if you've not dropped a like on the stream, please do so. I would appreciate that.
Come on, Roy. Get your hands dirty.
Let's see who's getting their hands dirty here. JHP LLC donated $9.99. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see what you got to say. Camp Crystal Lake takes place in Amityville, and that's where the anaconda comes from. A haunted lake. That's it. You're producing this movie piece. the anaconda could have been what grabbed Jason and pulled him under, forcing him to drown. And the evil of the anaconda was transferred into. Let's just stop that. Let's stop that. Hey Art, how's it going? So yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, in the comment section of my video from yesterday, and most of the comments that I've noticed here on the stream have been kind of negative. Is there? I know we've all wanted a new movie all these years. It's been so long. I think eventually a movie will happen. I mean, let's say this series gets off the ground and, by Halloween of next year, we're all gearing up to watch episode 1 of Crystal Lake on Peacock. We're all going to watch it, right? Whether we're dreading it or not, we're going to watch it, right? So I don't know. There's some very positive things about it. Again, Brian Fuller, A24. It's definitely being taken seriously. And whoever they cast to play Mrs. Voorhees, I think they're going to take that seriously. And I don't know. There's positives to this, I think. There are positives. And just because A24 is involved doesn't mean it's going to be like an art house thing. It's not going to be an artsy-fartsy Friday the 13th series. I don't think. I mean, I hope not. Yeah, maybe some Harry Manfredini on the score for the show, of course. I mean, put it this way: we could get a Roy episode of the Friday the 13th of Crystal Lake. How cool would that be? A Roy episode. I'd be down for that. We could have like a demon episode. Clear, they've got access to everything. We could actually get Jason in Manhattan, right? Adam Green could direct some episodes. Eli Roth could direct some episodes. You know what I mean? Why not? Johnny Depp as Roy? I would watch that. Roy, get your hands dirty. What? Oh, got the porn bot. Porn bot, what do you think? Are you down with the Friday the 13th series? Crystal Lake? I'm sure the porn bot will be all over it. They can do so much with a TV show that you can't do in a 90-minute movie. Exactly. Matthew McConaughey as Roy. Yes. I like that idea. Bruce Campbell for Crazy Ralph. I'd be up for that. I don't know. It's again, I think we're in the very early stages of development here. So, and I mean, there's a possibility nothing could come from it.
Come on, Roy. Get your hands dirty.
Thank you, JHPLLC, for the additional $9.99 super chat. If you want Piz to dress up in drag with a blonde wig and post a... what did that say? Post a vid audition of him auditioning for the Pamela Voorhees role. And you misspelled Voorhees, man. I mean, I would destroy that role. If they cast me as Mrs. Voorhees, I would destroy that role. Peter Bracke as Ralph, yes. Peter Bracke would be an excellent Ralph. That is for sure. Or Peter Bracke could be, wasn't the sheriff in the remake? Wasn't his last name Bracke? So Peter could be like the sheriff of Crystal Lake. Corey Feldman is Corey Feldman. That's good casting. Tom McLaughlin could direct an episode. Absolutely. Yes, indeed he could. If the porn bot becomes a channel member, do we still have to block it? Yes, even if it's a channel member. Still got to block the porn bot. So there you go. Like I was saying, imagine we finally get a real visit to New York City. Could be dope. Fuller said the budget was quite high too in that interview. So they're, Peacock is throwing some money. Clearly, if they've got Brad Fuller involved, he's not cheap. He's not cheap. So, Rob Zombie to direct a new show coming from Peacock next year called Pinehurst. I'd watch it. So, put in the chat, based on your level of excitement from 1 to 10, post, what is your level of excitement? 1 to 10 in the chat. Hezbollah is Baby Jason. Okay, I would be down for that. $7.5, 10. Okay, Art's a 10. He's excited.
Roy, get your hands dirty.
Crease Fold, thank you for the $2 super chat. Lighten up, Demon. Feel a lot better after you shit. We could explore Demon and his girlfriend's relationship, Let's see. Captain Halloween's a 5. Husker is a 7. Crease Fold's an 8. Blake Star's a 3. Movie Fan's an 8. Wander This World's a 6. Big K is 6. Chester's an 8. Nick Marshall is an 8, but he's skeptical. David's a 1. JHP is 4. Horrid Films. Goodness gracious, we're going too fast. The Mayor's a 6. Horrid Films a 5. Dalton's a 3. Phantasm 81's a 9. Flip Searless is a 6.47. Got a 6 from Grave Dank. A 6 from Craven. I'm at a Corey Cunningham level of excitement. Is that, I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Allen's a 1. JT's a 6. Got a 5, an 8. What's up, Anthony? Liam's a 1. Christian is a conservative 6. Dustin Lewis is an 8. He's pretty optimistic. Jill's a 5. Just Another Horror Fan's an 8.5. David's a 5. Joe Reese is a negative 100. Wow. What's up, Sal? There's a 5. Dream Emulator's a 5. Sean Senior's a 5. Corey Cunningham is Roy. I'd be up for that. 7, a 10, an 8, 7.5, 8. Uh, 3, a 6. So there's actually more. I expected a bunch of 1s, to be honest. So there's some hope. Fosrotten is a 6. I think it will be X-like. 10 if they use the original location. Yes. How cool would that be if they shot it at Camp Novi Bosco? That would be cool. Yeah, at Camp Novi Bosco, and they're at, in Blairstown. That would be dope. That would be dope. Oh, X-Style. Okay, X-Style. Okay. For a minute there, I thought you were talking about like the X-Files, like it'd be an X-Files type series. Which, I mean, I guess they could do that. Although they kind of did that with the original Friday the 13th series. If they wanted to shoot at the camp, I'm sure they could make arrangements with the camp, and the camp would let them shoot there. I'm sure. It's still an active working Boy Scout camp. But, I mean, they could make arrangements and shoot there in the off season.
Come on, Roy. Get your hands dirty.
Let's see who's getting their hands dirty here. JHP LLC, $4.99 super chat. Thank you, sir. Did you listen to my pitch for the Piz and Jeremy cameo at Amityville Rideshare? Nope, I have not. I'm still kind of decompressing after October. October was a very busy but fun month. A very busy but fun month. So this is always like I'm always bummed too, like after, after Halloween's over, I'm always bummed to see it go. I always plan so much for October and get half of it in. So yeah. Oh, goodness. Thank you all for 72 likes on the stream. If you've not dropped a like on the stream, please do so. I would appreciate that very much. Hey, Antonis, what's up, man? How are you? What's up, Quentin loves trains and horror movies. We talked a little bit about Jason's father. I don't think it needs to. I don't think we need to go there. But if they're gonna stretch this thing out into more than a handful of episodes or into more than a season, they're gonna have to add a lot of stuff. Oh, thank you, Chester. Thank you. We all want to see Jason again on the big screen. But, those rights are locked up, apparently, according to Brian Fuller. So the movie rights are messy, but they have the rights for television, for streaming, and even a movie for a streaming service. That can't happen. This is the best week. If we want Friday the 13th, this is the best that can happen at this point. Hey, Jess, how are you, buddy? Joe, yes, I did see that image from Evil Dead Rise. Yes, I did see that.
Man, you called One Scared Cat. They call me Reggie the Reckless.
Ah, Grave Dank. Thank you, sir, for becoming a channel member. Welcome to your One Scared Cat now. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I don't know. Bringing in Jason's father just really kind of overly complicates things. Because what are they going to? I mean, I don't know. Are they going to say he's abusive, or he was the evil? He's responsible for the evil part of Jason or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, it's probably going to happen. We'll probably get Elias Voorhees in there at some point. Hey, what's up, Corey? How you doing, man? From the S'mores Indoors. Yeah, right on, man. Thank you, Grave Dank. Chucky season 2 is pretty bad. I only saw the first 2 episodes of the Chucky series, and that was it. Triple H as Elias. I don't know. No. Well, there's also rumors that a Halloween series is being developed for a streaming service, a Peacock or a Hulu or something like that. So I'd said not long ago that the future for horror may be streaming, or the future for these big franchises may be streaming. That may be where it's going. Christian says the biggest risk with the TV show, I think, is losing the simplicity that is Friday the 13th. Going into the past, family members, etc., is probably going to be dangerous. Yes, because if you make it too complicated, then it's not Friday the 13th. And I think that was, and remember the Platinum Dunes prequel that was in development for so long. That was the Pamela Voorhees story that included Elias Voorhees that led up to Jason drowning in the lake. And thank God we did not get that movie. The best thing that Rings movie did was ensure that movie didn't happen. Because that movie was not going to do anything for anybody. I totally agree. Once you make it overly complicated, you kind of lose what the essence of Friday the 13th is. And when you try to reinvent, when you try to apply too much reinvention to Friday the 13th or Halloween or A Nightmare on Elm Street, etc., it loses, those properties lose their essence, I think. So, I mean, that's something that I think they definitely need to take into consideration with this series, is the more complicated you make it, the less Friday the 13th it is. And, maybe it's been said before that the people who are responsible for these, the reboots and the reimaginings and whatnot of these older properties, they don't care about us as fans. They want to create new fans. They want to create fandom around that new reinvention. So, appealing to us, I don't think they care. And that may be the case with this new series too. They may want to complicate it, and they may want to make it look and feel like Bates Motel, because Bates Motel was a big hit. You know, they may want to make it look and feel like Hannibal, because Hannibal was a big hit, and get the Hannibal crowd and the Bates Motel crowd into Friday the 13th. And all of us old Friday the 13th people, who cares? See, that's one of my fears. Too much knowledge about a character, you take away from what drew us to the franchise. Yeah. So I think even in this interview with Brian Fuller, I mean, he had said something about, he's a fan of the old school Friday the 13th films, and that he wanted to, well, he says he fell in love with all of them. Well, maybe not Jason Goes to Hell. He says he loves and he has love for the property. Okay? He wants to make sure it is loved and cared for appropriately. So, he's an old school fan, or at least he claims to be an old school fan. He wants to make sure it's loved and cared for appropriately. We'll see. There you go, Ghost. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Hey, I'm the Ice Lord. I'm doing good. How are you? What story do you think the Halloween series will follow? Michael's time in the mental hospital, maybe? No, I think the if there is a Halloween series being developed for streaming, I think it's going to revolve around I think it's going to take place in the Halloween 3 universe. What's up, Man of Steel 134? How are you? Who could they get to replace Mama Ethel? Nobody. You can't replace Carol Locatel. You just can't. You'd have to go get Carol Locatel to come back as Ethel. Oh, goodness. Well, I talked about that earlier in the stream, Chester, how they could change things up with that storyline and maybe make it different and a little more psychological. But yeah, I think if they're going to do a Halloween series on one of these streaming services, it's going to be in the Halloween 3 universe. And Michael might shift in and out of it here and there. Yeah, I'm sure they bring Tom McLaughlin in to direct an episode. I mean, Tom McLaughlin had been trying to get his own Friday the 13th thing off the ground for a long time, like his Final Girls movie. So he's probably, disappointed that that's not going to happen. But, they could let him direct an episode of this new series. I think that'd be cool. I mean, bring in, what's Joe Zito doing? Let Joe Zito direct an episode. Let, who directed Part 8? Let him direct an episode. Let Adam Marcus direct an episode, Let Kane Hodder direct an episode, you know what I mean? Oh, that's okay, Chester. Swaggy G, what's going on, man? How are you, buddy? Rob Hedden, yeah, let Rob Hedden direct an episode. Bring in all the, everybody who directed, the older movies who are still with us. Bring them in and let them direct an episode. Why not? And then let some of the newer horror cats on the block direct an episode. Ty West. Mike Flanagan, Jamie Blanks, Rob Eggers. Let Rob Eggers direct an episode of Crystal Lake. That'd be funny. Yeah, bring Steve Miner. Yeah, Steve Miner, absolutely. Yeah, he'd do it. What if Corey Feldman came back? I can see a Corey Feldman cameo in some episode. James Wan, of course. Yeah, James Wan would be great. Damien Leone. Yeah, Damien Leone. Exactly. Well, I think the one thing that they missed out on when it came to Michael Myers' mask in Halloween Ends is they should have, I mean, it sounds corny, but I mean, they should have, like, I don't know. They should have shown like the Silver Shamrock button or logo on the inside of the neck or something. I don't know. Bryan Cranston, yeah. Scott Derrickson, of course. Rob Zombie. Sure, why not? Uwe Boll, yes. That would the Uwe Boll directed episode would be the most viewed. That's for sure, because people would be tuning in for that Uwe Boll Friday the 13th episode, or Crystal Lake episode, excuse me. Yes. A lot of people would be tuning in for that episode. Oh, goodness. So, yeah. That is all the news that we know at this point about the Crystal Lake series. It's in the works. Brian Fuller is producing. A24 is involved. They have access to everything, not just to Pamela and young Jason, but to everything. So, a lot of possibilities there. We've discovered that the movie rights are tied up and in kind of a messy situation there. So the possibility of a new Friday the 13th movie seems distant at this point. You know, it's kind of like if you want something new Friday the 13th, official, because God knows we've got a lot of fan films and whatnot over the years. And we're still getting fan films. But something official. This is, this is, it's this or nothing. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. I think they're going to take it seriously. I think it depends on who they cast as Mrs. Voorhees. It depends on who's in that writer's room, and again, it may not happen at all. Just because they've announced it's happening, it may not happen at all. They announced the Friday the 13th series on the CW many years ago, and it went nowhere. So trying to create a long-running series for this property, it's been attempted before, and it didn't work. So it may not work again. Wait and see. Yes, indeed. Have you read the Halloween Ends novelization? I haven't watched the movie yet. Is there any difference? I've not read the novelization, so I don't know what is different from the novelization. I heard there was an ending that was in the novelization, but then they a different ending than the one we see in the film. But then they ended up changing that ending, and then they had to rush and change the ending in the novelization too. So I don't know. I don't know what's all in the novelization. I'm sure it's a deeper dive into everything, but I have not read it yet. Thoughts at this point on the Elm Street being called an active franchise? Do you wonder if there's any legitimacy to the claim behind the scenes? I mean, that's if you believe Cliff McMillan at Scream Factory. That's the reason why Scream Factory can't get the rights to do a box set for Elm Street, because Warner Brothers considers it a quote unquote active franchise. I don't know. I mean, I speculated that could be BS, that Warner Brothers maybe just doesn't want to deal with Scream Factory, or, they've got plans to do it themselves in-house. That may be the case. If they can do it all in-house, I mean, why share the profits with Scream Factory when they can keep them all for themselves? I don't know. If it's not successful and it gets canceled, could that hurt chances of a new movie? I don't think so. I don't think so because, I mean, a new movie will happen eventually. We're going to get a new Friday the 13th movie eventually. Doesn't matter. This series isn't going to influence whether we get a new movie or not. We'll get a new movie eventually. So I don't know. That's everything on the Crystal Lake series that we know at this point. Did I watch any horror movies last night for Halloween? I watched Urban Legend. That was it. I watched Urban Legend and then went to bed, relatively early. I've liked a lot of the fan films too, Bog Zombie. I liked both of the Never Hike Alones. I like Jason Rising. So I mean, there's some good fan films out there. FN Lord. Yeah, I talked about that earlier in the stream. Yeah. In Horror State of Mind, I talked about that a little while ago too. Art, you watched the original Halloween on VHS. Cool. Old school. I like that. Thank you all for 96 likes on the stream. If you've not dropped a like on the stream, please do so. I would appreciate that. No, Grave. Jeremy did not stay up 2 extra hours. He did not. When it was 8 p.m., he was in bed. So. Oh, goodness gracious. I need to watch Cabinet of Curiosities. I've heard only good things about that. So I do plan on watching that eventually. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream there. We've covered pretty much everything that is known about the Crystal Lake series up to this point. So yeah, now we're just going to have to wait and see when it comes to, casting and release dates and all that sort of thing. So, I don't know. I to reiterate, I'm excited that we're getting new Friday the 13th stuff. It may not be exactly what we want, but we're getting new Friday the 13th stuff. And that's a big step forward from where we've been for the past how many years? So, and again, I think it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before we get a new movie. So, let me do some shout outs here. Shout out to Man of Steel 34 for tuning in over on Twitch. Shout out to JHP LLC for the $1.99, $2.999, and $4.99 super chats. Appreciate that very much, sir. Shout out to Creasefold for the $2 super chat, and shout out to Grave Dank for becoming a channel member. Appreciate that. Let's see who's still with me tonight. We've got Michael Sullivan, Sean Sr. We got Cody, Lopke Vision Films. Hope you're doing well, sir. Hope you had a good Halloween. We've got The Living Boris, Nick Marshall, Bog Zombie, Horror State of Mind, Captain Halloween, Craven Moorhead, Metropolis, Dalton, Art, Mike Johnston, FN Lorter, Antonis, Liam B., Blake Starr, The Daily Ghost, Dylan, Planet CHH, Festy, Swaggy G. Yeah, thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight and talking about Crystal Lake as well as various other things. Always a pleasure. Y'all have a good one. There will be, I took a hiatus from the Sunday night stream, but there will be a new Sunday night stream this Sunday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Also mark your calendars for November 9th. I'm going to be doing a blood stream with My Bloody Valentine director George Mahulka, as well as the author of the upcoming My Bloody Valentine novelization, Armando Munoz. So that's going to be a very fun stream. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Going to be talking all things My Bloody Valentine. And yeah, all right. So again, thank you all for hanging out with me. It's been a pleasure. I will see you again very soon. Until then, take care, be well, and peace.